The video jump-started his professional skateboarding career, and just a few years later, he dropped out of high school. At 30 years old, a tragic accident that almost took his life forced him to reflect on that decision. Now, Sam hopes to help teens avoid the temptation to leave the books behind, even when it seems to be an easier and a shorter path to fame and money. Hi, welcome to Make Today Well Live, the podcast. I'm Allie Norman Franks. I'm Beverly Hills High School Wellness Counselor, and I'm hosting today with two of our awesome peer counselors, Nick and Kate. This month is our Substance Misuse Prevention Month, and as our guest today, we have Sam Baptista, who at the young age of 12 starred in the iconic skateboarding video, Fulfill the Dreams. We're fortunate to hear Sam's story and to learn the lessons from the falls that he took in his youth and in his young adult life.
Hi, Sam. Thank you so much for joining us on our podcast today, Well Lived. I'm one of the peer counselors. My name's Nick Kay. And my first question for you really is, can you just share with us your high school experience and what it was like and who you were as a teenager?
So I grew up in Santa Barbara, California. It's an amazing city that's super rich in surfing and skate culture and music as well. You know, it's just an amazing city. And I grew up next to one of the biggest skate parks in the whole world, Skate Zone, which is owned by Pal Peralta. And I have 6 older brothers as well. And so they were super good at everything. We would battle at like Street Fighter, pool, everything you could think of. We would pretty much go against each other, trying to get as good as we can get. And skateboarding was definitely one of those things. And my brother Brennan was friends with pro skateboarder Dylan Gardner at the time. And there's a couple other pros that were from town. And so at an early age, it was something that I wanted to do for a living, you know what I mean? And my mom thought I was crazy, but I was lucky I got sponsored by PAL at like 11 years old. At the same time, my I have 6 older brothers. And so the brothers that were the oldest, my oldest didn't really do school like that. But then the 2 ones below him went to college and they were very serious about school. And, but the brothers that were closest to me in age, they didn't really care too much about school. And actually they dropped out of high school. And so you're kind of like shaped by what you see around you. And so at an early age, I was like, I didn't really see school as like a value, you know. And my dad went to like City College and he played football and stuff. And so he finished high school and everything, but it's not like my dad was preaching to go to college and everything. And later on quit Powell for Shorty Skateboards, which is kind of like a cult classic company. Like everyone wears like Shorty stuff now and they like it, you know. Then got on Shorties, came out in this video called Fulfill the Dream, which ended up being like one of the biggest videos in skateboarding history. You know, there's probably like 10 or 15 videos, and I just got really blessed to be involved in that. And a big name skateboarder named Chad Muska was the top person, and he was like literally the biggest dude in skateboarding at the time. And so I just got to be a part of like kind of a winning, I call it like we don't have championships in skateboarding. You have like moments in time that are cataclysmic for the culture. And I got to be a part of a video that was kind of a shift in everything. And Chad Muska was one of the catapulting forces behind that. So fast forward, I just phased out of school, and I wasn't doing good at school because I was traveling so much, and I thought I was the hottest thing since sliced bread, you know. And I'm getting paid to skateboard in high school. I did a Thomas's Bagel commercial in high school. So I'm sitting on like $8,000 of my own cash in a bank account, and I'm getting paid to skate. And so I got into beef with my brother and moved out, and I had my own apartment at like 16 years old. At this point, I moved back from Colorado to Santa Barbara, and my brother kind of followed to take care of me. And so all these things led up to me really not caring about school. And because I wasn't doing good at school, then I started doing independent studies. And then I kind of just went off and just didn't even go and just didn't finish, and nobody said anything because my life was on track and I was having a blooming career and stuff. But looking back, that's really where like everything kind of like went left, because I just didn't, all the people around me were just drinking, smoking, and we were successful people, like Chad Muska his biggest problem was switching in the Escalade for the newer version, so I was like, oh, we're going to be rich and famous, and not realizing life is like a really long marathon. And I was telling this before to somebody, that school is kind of the foundation for your future, and so it sounds cheesy to say, but, I'm very into history as well. So like there's this place, Temple of Baalbek, and it has this really flat stone surface. It's like huge rock. So when you think about school, that's the way I look at it, is that like I didn't have this huge stone rock to where whatever I was going to do, I could go any direction, and I had this set for me and it was stable. Skateboarding is very up and down, and I'm blessed too because I had ACL surgery. I had things that would throw you off track and end your career, and I pushed through and was successful and thriving. And I was sponsored from 12 years old to like 30 years old. And so that's pretty much how like my whole early childhood went. And from nothing was off track. I didn't I didn't drink that much. I didn't smoke that much. I focused mainly on skateboarding. But after sports, you kind of have these crazy twists and turns. And so I worked so hard that I didn't really have any focus after skating. So that was kind of like, but that's a long journey, from 12 years old to 30, I was completely laser focused and everything was on point and on track. And after 30, it's kind of when things started to take a turn for the worst,
Yeah, that's amazing, all your opportunities. You did mention how, you didn't have too much of a support system when it came to school when you were younger. How does that affect you more when you're an adult now, not having that stone platform, like you said?
Your opportunities become very slim. And in my case, I have a wide variety of opportunities still because I was blessed with meeting so many amazing people. But at the same time, a lot of people that I was around were very successful in things that weren't always the best things. You know what I mean? And so fast forward, legal marijuana, and it was medical marijuana at the time, was super big. So everyone I knew was involved in that. And so it's kind of the twist I took. And the person that got me involved was somebody I've known since I'm like 8 years old. And so I didn't see it as a bad thing. He actually told me like, hey, like, it gets me emotional too, because at the end of a career, like in WWF, I was watching one of these shows about WWF, and this dude had to retire. And he said, it's like a death, so when you lose a career for that long, it's so difficult, it puts you in such a low place. And so I had a family friend, and he just said, you've done that. I had an amazing career. I did more things than I could have ever imagined on a skateboard. And it was time to like move forward. And I had gotten married and start to provide for my family. So I didn't have the opportunities that soccer, football, baseball have to get scholarships. And so I think that's where it left me in a particular spot, because if you have those scholarships, if you go to college, then it's easier at the end because you have a degree, you have these things, and you have people that will help you get to where you're going. But I didn't see it as that. I was like, I got these big opportunities. Like, I'm making great money. My life was just one thing in front of the other. And I actually went to a therapist not too long ago, and she said that you need to start thinking more about these decisions that are happening instead of just going with the flow of life. But it had worked for me. And I think not going to school didn't give me that opportunity to, not realize that sometimes Adidas isn't the way. Maybe Nike is, but I just seen Adidas. You don't give yourself the broad view of what could be good or bad,
You mentioned how you started getting involved with, at the time, just medical marijuana. What were the dangers of using that drug, and how did it affect your life?
It's interesting that you say that, because for so long, I didn't see any problem with it. And now I've been sober for like 1.5 years, 2 years, and I just feel great. And I think that overall, it just puts you you just want to be on point. You know what I'm saying? Like, first off, I'll just start with what it does personally to people. Like, the people you see that are the most successful in life, they're not off smoking vapes, smoking weed, doing this with that group, you know, and it sounds cliche, but they aren't, you know, the Elon Musk's, the Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates, the people who make the world turn, they're not sitting there all stoned. They use every single second. Think of life as like the movie Iron Man, when he's up every night, he's doing everything he possibly can. He's moving as fast as he can because his knowledge is so important to the world. So that's one aspect. I look at smoking weed and being around people who smoke weed as not the greatest thing, because it just takes that energy away from you. I grew up around people that was a very low key thing. There's a lot of other drugs you can do that are very bad. My brother died from heroin at an early age. So that's the way I viewed it, is that like, that's not very bad drug. But at the end of the day, it's not the best thing. You know, my people that are on the highest level, they're not tripping on that. You just want to be on the success that you can possibly get to, whether it's a doctor, a lawyer, a philanthropist, anything, but you're not going to get there by being out of it all day. So that's kind of the way I view it.
And you mentioned how you were surrounded by a lot of people who are also involved with it. So it was really easy for you to just, you know, get and be a part of it because of all your friends were, and it was really easy. So it's very easy to just fall into the pattern of that. And is that what happened to you?
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is what I want to like preach to the youth too, is that like, you know, if you're around people, whoever you're around, you're going to be the next person. You know what I mean? And so like, if you're around Dame Dash, if you're around Jay-Z, you're going to be the next Jay-Z. You're going to, maybe not on that level, but you're going to be doing big things. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I just happened to be around some of my best friends in the whole world were people who were just doing other things. And I didn't view it as bad at all. But now I realize that it's so important to put yourself around people who are thinking on that level. You know, like you go to Harvard and they say like, don't get a job, make a job. You know, these are things that will live with you and chisel out your life for the rest of your life. The greater you become in life, the more you can do for other people. And so for me and my friends, it was like, we just want to get that iced out rollie. I just want to be in the nice car. I want to get to the club and pop the bottle. It's all the frivolous things of life that don't matter and aren't going to be remembered. You know what I mean?
What changed in your life to make you have that mindset versus the one that you did that you and your friends had when you were younger?
It's really amazing to be able to talk with you guys, because I didn't have any of these. I thought it wasn't me. You know, like I'm good. I'm A1, you know what I mean? Like I have this mentality. It's been working my whole life. But what had happened is that I got into medical marijuana and I was growing medical marijuana for 2 years. And like I said, like there's plenty of things that are good for medical marijuana that are CBD, all these other things, you know, like, and growing something isn't the worst thing you can do. It's not the best thing, but it's not the worst. But that led me, and again, by being around these people, by being in these situations, you put yourself in a situation to where, oh, I want to get fast money because I'm growing weed. It's worked. And then it went from growing weed, which was like really dangerous. You know, I'd have to be up. You set your alarm for 2 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning, because you're expecting somebody to be out in your spot, robbing the spot. You have to deal with cops, robbers, everything you can think of. And it just puts you in this weird spot that like I wasn't used to, you know, and I don't, looking back, it was just not the best place to be for my family and everything. Just a lot of the times I think, don't ever do stuff that your mom wouldn't want you to do at that moment. And it sounds cheesy, but that's just the truth, you know? And that's, for me, it's my daughter, that if my daughter wouldn't be there, I shouldn't be there. Now, what I didn't notice at the time or think of, when you use chemicals to extract for a drug, now you just switched from growing medical marijuana to now you're manufacturing a drug. Now this is prison time. It's honey oil that we're making, and it's for the pens and shatter and diamonds. There's a bunch of other stuff. There's a million different things that comes from it. So you use butane, and then so I had a particular accident. And what happens is that the gas had leaked, and the thing had opened on accident. The gas had leaked. I went in to go fix it like I had done a couple other times. And that particular time, static or anything, a little spark sparked the gas. And so I literally was in a room that just went on fire. and not like a little fire hits you, the whole thing. So I'm in the middle of just fire, and I'm not saying it to like a horror story. I'm just saying, because this is reality. You know what I mean? When you see those vape pens, when you see all this stuff, this is how they make it, and so it's so dangerous. And I was in a coma for 16 days. I burned 40% of my body, 3rd to 4th degree burns. And I had to put my mom, my family, and everyone through this. And friends I would talk to, they thought I was dead. They thought I was blind, And so when I got out of it, I remember looking at the person who was taking out the trash at the hospital. And I said, I'd rather be doing that, and I traded all this stuff. And the worst part for me is that I had created such an amazing life for myself. I have a career. I followed my dream and I achieved it, but then I traded it to try to get money, and all the while my wife was 9 months pregnant, 8.5 months pregnant, and my baby was due right when all this had happened. And so that kind of changed my whole mind state. And I had dreams that just led me back to skating and just what matters. You don't want to, Bob Marley said it best. I'm about quotes. I love music. He said, don't gain the world and lose your soul. Knowledge is worth more than silver and gold. So that's where my mind state changed. I really look at amazing people, and I don't look at money anymore. I look at people who are spiritual. I look at people who do things for the sake of doing it, because if you focus on money, it makes you very, not shallow, but predictable. You want to be an unpredictable light in the universe that's just like this shining orb that's just flying through. So that's where my mind state changed, and I got with God. I got sober, and so God's just a shining light in my life. And again, my daughter. So that's kind of where my long-winded explanation, but it's hard to say short.
Hi, my name is Kate Lewis, and I'm a junior and peer counselor at Beverly. Nick, you did such a great job, and I'm so excited to be here this morning to interview you, Sam. Thank you for talking to us. And I want to build off of what Nick was asking with what kind of injuries did you receive, and how did you recover from your accident? Particularly, what was it like for you coming out of the coma?
So, hi, that was an amazing question, because it was definitely very hard. And my hands, my arms, my legs were all severely burned, and I didn't even know how bad it was. And when I woke up out of the coma, I thought like people were attacking me. And when you get out of a coma, that you don't even know what had happened, because my dreams had taken over. I had dreams where my legs were cut off, and I was sponsored by Nike, because Nike wanted to give me like fake legs to skateboard with bionic legs, and crazy, you know what I mean? Like I woke up, I was in Brazil. But it was all like waking up. Imagine 16 days of waking up and you're still asleep. And so when you wake up, I didn't know if it was real or not. So, and the healing process, it just takes so long. And how they do with burns, they scrape all of your dead skin off. And then they took stuff from my back. They took skin from my back to put on my legs and arms. And it's the most hardest thing you can go through ever, because you have to take off the bandages. They put you in a room called the hydrotherapy, and they get you wet, and they take off the bandages, and you're on this gurney, just like all these injuries and stuff. And then they put you in a hyperbaric chamber to do the oxygen at a certain level that helps you heal quicker. And then, it just took forever. And then it took like a year long to get better. And it's not like a regular injury. It's like it gets tight, and then you have to stretch it, and then it gets tight. So every morning I would wake up and I couldn't even move my arms or legs, and it felt like the skin was going to stretch. And so it was just one of the hardest things you could ever go through. And just for me, like I've just been running around the world skateboarding, believing full-hearted in myself. And I've been through a lot of injuries, and this one just shook me down to the ground and created a lot of depression, and you're just so bummed at yourself for what had happened,
Yeah, I can't even imagine the recovery process for you, and I'm sure your lifestyle has changed a lot since then. If you were able to go back in time and make different choices, how would you have balanced your passion for skateboarding and school?
I think that school teaches you how to manage your time. And so I wasn't good at time management, and I was smoking a lot of weed. And so I just I couldn't engage in school. I didn't associate with these people. And so I wouldn't smoke weed, obviously. I would choose who I was around, a little more careful, and just take it serious, just get through school. If you just go through college and you don't even get like a crazy degree and everything, you could be done at 22 years old. At 22 years old, you're still so young. And so I didn't think of it like that. I was just like, I'm wasting time. I just want to get to where I'm at. So that's what I would have done, is just like follow through, at least get a high school diploma, but definitely I think go to college just to give yourself an opportunity to see what you like and won't like, you know. That's what I would do, definitely different.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And what advice would you give to teens on choosing the people around you? Maybe you can share your goals and how teens can plan and structure their goals moving forward.
Yeah, I think that you just sometimes, just because you grow up next to somebody, and you don't have to like not be friends with people, you know, you just have to understand that sometimes the actions that other people are making are going to affect your actions, and the things that other people have are going to weigh on what you want and what you're focused on. You know, if you have friends who are spiritual and are traveling the world and going to different shrines and Buddhist temples and stuff, you're going to think that's cool. If you have friends that are into Gucci purses and Mercedes Benzes and luxury things, then you're going to think that's cool. And so I think that that's just to keep in your mind that understand about what really matters, you know. And at the end of the day, like, unless you're like King Tut, you're not really buried with all kinds of jewelry and stuff, you know. Like when you go, you just go. And so that's not what matters. What matters is your legacy of who you helped and the things that you've accomplished that make this world a better place, you know.
Thank you so much for sharing your advice and sharing your story with both Nick and I. I know we both really appreciate it. And thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, no problem. You guys have a great day, and just focus on being the best you can, and focus on being the best you can for the world and your parents and everyone. Understand that everyone's so amazing. I think that that's what I would like to end it on, is that each person on this planet is so incredible. You know, it's so amazing. You could do anything you want to do. You know, don't focus on getting the money super fast. Don't focus on having the nice things super fast. When you see somebody driving a Bentley or a S550, sometimes that's a doctor that's worked 20 years to get to that level, you know. So just let yourself bloom, let yourself give time to just get to those points, and it'll all happen in time, you know.
Thank you, Sam, for being a guest on our show. We also want to thank and give a big shout out to Beverly Vista PTA as well as Beverly Hills High School PTSA for their ongoing support, and to our monthly aid sponsor, Michael J. LeBeau. And we want to thank KBEV for producing the show. And we want to encourage our listeners to tune in next month and learn how to be safe online, as well as how to protect your mental health.